Hey everybody, I'm Jesse, and welcome to another edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about the different political ideologies in America, our political parties and our political ideas, and the things that the different groups, let's say, the different groups of people that we have, all right, and what they actually mean, because we hear these words left, right, Democrat, Republican, conservative, progressive. What is actually being talked about when we hear these things? What are we talking about when we say them? Okay? We hear them thrown around a lot, but do we know what they mean? Do we understand? And this is meant to be a conversation. So I value your input in the comments. So feel free to chime in and let me know if my ideas are different than yours. But I'll start out with conservative and progressive. Now, the idea of conservatism is the thought that things should stay the same. Conserve, right? Keep it the same. Conservatives are against change. Okay, and that is that I align with that a lot. Just like I used to. Let me put it that way. I used to align with that line of thought. Back in the 70s and 80s, the United States was number one in education. Our only competitor, the only other nation that really competed with us was Japan. Yeah, if my memory serves. Us and Japan were the top two. Now we've fallen to number 39, and that's out of 45 or something. I don't know, but we're ridiculous now. So back then I would have been a conservative when it came to education. Nowadays, though, I'm progressive. I want change. When it comes to education, I want change. When it comes to most policies now, I'm actually progressive because I am advocating change in almost every part of the system that we live in. So technically, those of you who feel like I do, feel like this stuff should change, we are progressive. It's the liberals, the leftists who are conservative now because they want to keep this broken ass system the same, right? They don't want it to change. So they are now in this time and age, they are the conservatives and we are the progressives. So progressives naturally advocate change. They want to progress, to move forward from the status quo. Anybody going against the status quo is progressive. Now, that's, as I say, it's inverted now. The common sense, just freedom-loving people are now progressives because our country and the systems that run it have moved so far away from what is beneficial to the people that we are progressives. We want that shit to change. Okay. Now, we'll talk about Democrats and Republicans. These are just political categories that the powers that be made up for us, right? It used to be that the Republicans were conservatives, right-wing conservatives, and the Democrats were liberals, left-wing liberals. Democrats wanted freedom, wanted the better life for the common man. Now that is completely inverted too. That's completely changed around. Now Republicans are about freedom and better life for the common man. And so it's completely changed. But a lot of old school Democrats have just stayed in that Democratic system. They just vote Democrat no matter what, no matter how far their party has moved away from what they believe. Okay? They'll just vote Democrat. because they're told to. That talking box tells them to vote Democrat, so they vote Democrat. And then you have libertarians, which are a third party that believe in personal freedom and small government. And that's probably more where I align with. I align, as if I had to choose a political party, it would be libertarian, I guess, because the whole uniparty duopoly of Democrat Republican, that's just set up by the system to make us think that we're getting who we want. Give an illusion of choice. That's all that is. We pick the most attractive of the two evils, and they were both horrible. But anyway, that political party system is just a complete sham. In my opinion, ours in America is just a complete bogus sham. Now, Donald Trump came from outside, and he ended up running as a Republican because he just couldn't fit in with the Democrats anymore. He was a Democrat, from what I understand, most of his life, but he just couldn't run as a Democrat, believing what he believed and talking about the things he talked about, so he had to run as a Republican after voting Democrat his whole life. But he was an outsider, and he knew that he wouldn't make it as a libertarian, just like RFK Jr. didn't make it as a libertarian, because the whole system is set up for the duopoly, the two parties. It's almost impossible. Have we ever had a libertarian president? I don't believe so. I mean, it's possible. We probably, way back in the day, we had some different parties, but in my lifetime, never. And then right wing versus left wing. This whole thing here. Now, this is where I get kind of confused, right versus left, because and in my experience, everyone I've ever pretty much known and everyone who I talk to and stuff are just in the middle, right? I mean, you might lean a little bit left with some of the things that you believe, or lean a little bit right with some of the things that you believe, I guess, because what is left and what is right? We can say the major things like abortion is left, and, pro-Second Amendment is right, I guess. But I'm not real sure about that. That's kind of gray and vague, that whole left-right thing. They want to call Republicans right-wingers, and basically anybody who doesn't, vote Democrat or agree with the liberal, and now they're conservative. I'm going to confuse people if I start calling liberals conservatives, but that's the truth. But if you don't agree with the liberal progressive thing, then you're right wing. You're a right wing Republican, no matter where your political affiliations lie, no matter what the rest of your beliefs lie, where the rest of your beliefs lie. If you're not, pro-abortion and transgender athletes competing against women and stuff, then you're a right-wing lunatic. And all of these terms, these categories, this language is used to manipulate us. It's all manipulation tools. Why do we have all these categories? What's the purpose? Why can't we just have 5 people go up and get on a debate stage and be asked questions and them get our votes, depending on how they answer the questions and what they've done in their past? This I don't understand this. All right? Why it is all labeled and categorized and separated and all this. Well, I do understand it. It's to divide us. It's to keep us divided, to keep us arguing amongst each other, to keep us fighting against each other. If you're my enemy, then, the Joe Biden and Kamala Harris can't be my enemy. And the deep state can keep robbing us blind if we're fighting each other. But as far as the left and the right go, you actually have a very small minority of people who are actually on the left. I just read a thing that said that Elon Musk and Doge, they uncovered, the spending, where the money was being spent through this USAID and all that, and vast amounts of money were spent to propagandize the idea that there were a lot more Democrats or leftists than there actually are, through the media, through the social media. And that's the purpose for all these fake accounts, all these bots, so that it looks like there's a lot more of support for that side than there actually is. And that way, when they do cheat in an election, then nobody's surprised, because they have so much support. Nobody questions it because they have so much support. But the reality is that they are a very tiny fraction of the population. These people who are just far, left-wing Democrat wackos. They're a small minority. The vast majority of us, I would say 80 to 90% of the population, are just common sense, in the middle, freedom-loving people. They just want freedom and to be left alone and not be robbed by the government. Okay? And the libertarian thing about small government, yeah, I understand the value of small government. I really do. And it should be just common sense means it says it should be small. That way it won't have so much overreach and everything. But if it would act right, if these people would act right, we could have a big government. I don't care if how big the government is. Honestly, I don't. I just care how much of my money they spend, how much of my money they take. That's all I care about. They can make the government as big as they want if they would act right and not waste all of our money overseas on the things that they're finding out that they're wasting the money on is just unbelievable. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Gender gender affirmation care for people in Venezuela and shit. Really? And like $600 million we sent down there for that. I mean, it's just completely ridiculous. And of course, again, with the right wing, there's a very small portion of the population might be right wing, but I doubt that anymore. I mean, that's a far-fetched stretch there to find another group of people who are really right wing. We used to have groups, skinheads and stuff. Are there still skinheads? I don't know. Maybe there are. But I haven't heard of any. I really haven't. I see these groups that are basically FBI agents dressed up in masks and stuff, and they're claiming that they're right-wing groups, but they don't. Number one, Republican voters, in the middle, common sense people don't put on masks and go out and do this kind of weird shit. We don't wear masks. We talk about our ideas out in the open because our ideas are good. We don't wear masks and hide and go do violence and shit. That we just don't. That's the left that always does the violence. They are violent. That small population of extremists over there, they're the violent ones. So every time I see like this far right group of extreme Nazis or whatever, and they're carrying flags and wearing masks and stuff, I just always assume that that's some kind of covert operation. They're government agents doing that shit, not real people. So the far left and the far right are very small portions of the population, and I would argue that the far right is almost non-existent in this day and age. But I do think it's important that we understand these words that we're using when we describe ourselves and each other, because that's part of the manipulation that's being used against us, is the manipulation of our language. And we point at each other and leftist, Republican and Democrat and, Nazi and all this stuff. And it's just manipulation. And I'll leave you there with that. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and comment. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, I'll leave that link down in the description, or you can head over to the channel page and become a member that way. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can do so by clicking on that super thanks button down there. Or you can head over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put that link down in the description too. If you're interested in Gen X gear, you can head over to Redbubble and check out what we have over there. Pretty cool stuff, Gen X Thinks and Gen X branded stuff. T-shirts, coffee mugs, stickers, and that kind of stuff. I'll put that link down in the description as well. If you can't or don't want to support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That helps out a lot. Thank you very much to those of you who do that. I sincerely appreciate it. If you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Thinks, please put those down in the comments, or you can email us, and the email is genxthinks@gmail.com. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.